The T-14 Armata is a worthy weapon system, as it may give us many clues about what's going on in Ukraine for the Russian army. This tank has also ignited the initiation of new projects in the West. As the weapon detective, we're now investigating the Armata, the tank that tells a story about the changing world. The Armata offers a chance to understand how the Russian army has changed since the dissolution of the Soviet Union. Also, before the Russian invasion of Ukraine, this tank was one of the most significant signs of the dawn of a new era, which we define as the Second Cold War. We can track the roots of the Armata to the early 1980s, when the Western armies began to operate new and highly advanced Leopard 2 and M1 Abrams. They made the Soviet tanks outdated. The armored warfare doctrine of the USSR had been based on quickly produced, easily maintained, and expandable tanks since the Second World War. The design criteria of the T-34, which was regarded by many experts as the most successful tank of the Second World War, were replicated in the successor T-series tanks. Yet, after the West introduced the superior Leopard 2, M1, and Challenger, the Soviet army began considering new approaches. It was not enough for the Soviet engineers to develop a tank with similar capabilities to its Western counterparts. They aimed for more. During the 1980s, the USSR examined many innovative technologies and concepts. But the Soviet Union lost the First Cold War and collapsed. The newly established Russian Federation did not have enough money to continue the work. Besides, there was no longer a risk of a Third World War. So, the new tank, called T-95, could not go beyond being a technology demonstrator. The T-95 was quite different from conventionally designed tanks. It had a remotely controlled unmanned turret which separated the crew from ammunition. The T-95 was also fitted with advanced electronics. Relying on electronics had not been something the Soviet army believed in. According to Soviet military planners, in the Third World War, the electromagnetic pulse effect of nuclear weapons would make electronics useless. Or, in large-scale conventional war without nuclear strikes, millions of fighting soldiers would use radios and radars. So, the frequency interference would disable any healthy result in terms of communication and detection. Also, the jammers would multiply the nightmare. Besides, each side would destroy the satellite network of the other within a week. According to Soviet military planners, the network-centric warfare concept was unrealistic. The T-95 symbolized the breaking point in Russian military thought. The Armata was the continuation of this change. It relies on the unmanned turret, advanced electronics, electro-optics, and situational awareness systems. Furthermore, Armata has network-centric warfare capability. The three-person crew seats side by side in a special armored capsule in the front, separated by an armored bulkhead from the turret. The main body is built with the new and lightweight 44S SVSH steel, which is highly durable and can withstand extreme temperature environments. The ballistic protection is also enhanced with new ceramic plates and explosive reactive armor blocks. Also, the Armata has the new Afghanit active protection system with both hard kill and soft kill capabilities. The 125mm 2A82 1M main gun can fire the Vacuum 1 armor-piercing fin-stabilized discarding sabot round. According to Russian sources, it can penetrate 1000mm of rolled homogeneous armor at 2 kilometers. The gun can also fire guided anti-tank missiles such as the 9M119 M1 Invar M with a 5 km range and the 3 UBK-21 Sprinter with a 12 km range. They are also effective against low-flying air targets. The tank carries 45 125mm rounds, 32 of which are on the autoloader. The Russians are also considering changing the 125mm main armament of the Armata with a new 152mm one. The 12.7mm machine gun on the remotely controlled weapon station can be replaced with a 30mm cannon. The three-person crew of the Armata consists of the driver, commander, and gunner. It has a length of 10.8 meters, a width of 3.9 meters, and a height of 3.3 meters. Its combat weight is 55 tons. The 1,500 horsepower A85 3.8 turbocharged diesel engine provides 75 kilometers per hour on the road. Its range is 500 kilometers. In addition to the 125mm 2A82 1M smoothbore gun, the Armata has one 12.7mm cord and one 7.62mm PKTM machine gun. The Armata and its program have many handicaps, even though it's an excellent tank on paper. The current Russian invasion of Ukraine has revealed that the Russian army and Russian military industries are struggling with many problems. Even before the so-called special military operation in Ukraine began, Moscow had already lost its enthusiasm to equip its armored units with the Armata as soon as possible. The program had continuously been delayed or suspended. The Russian officials publicly expressed that the reason for the setback was mainly economic. Besides, the modernized T-72s, T-80s, and T-90s could deal with any potential threats. So, acquiring the advanced Armata was not a priority. On the other hand, there were some other problems that were not mentioned openly. First, the question of how rapidly the Russian army could adapt to these radical approaches to the tank concept stood as an enigma. The new design criteria of the Armata was unsuitable for the old doctrine. Yes, the Russian army was changing, but like all transformations, it required time and brought many problems. The Russian invasion of Ukraine displays that the Russians could not handle the reorganization process well. The old Soviet doctrine was based on a flood of massive human machine with devastating firepower. However, the Russian army operated battalion-sized tactical groups in Ukraine. Russian attackers never had overwhelming numerical superiority as expected by those who know Russian military history against the Ukrainian defenders. It was an indicator of the changed Russian doctrines. But also, Russia could not execute modern network-centric warfare properly. The Russian Air Force could not gain air dominance over Ukraine as the West did in Iraq and the former Yugoslavia. The Russian ground forces buzzed in Ukraine like in old times, but they had not organized as before. Tens of thousands of T-34s crushed Nazi Germany in the Second World War. The T-55, T-62, and T-72 were developed based on the same principles as the T-34. Tens of thousands of them might crush the NATO forces in a Third World War. But thousands of tanks could win a big war only if they are high-tech and are supported by other modern weapon systems and a mighty air force in a network-centric warfare doctrine. Also, the war showed that the Russian military industry did not have a massive production capability, especially for high-tech systems as before. The fact that Russia was stuck between the past and the future and could not solve the handicaps in the transition to modern Western tactics caused it to fail in Ukraine. The same problems hit the Armata program. This tank, designed according to the new concepts, could not easily be fitted to the outdated Russian army. Russia initially planned to produce 2,300 Armatas. This number represented a dramatic change in the structure of the Russian army, which had 13,000 tanks at that time. Replacing the old T-72s and T-80s with the Armatas would not be enough. All other military vehicles in the inventory were designed to fight alongside the T-72s and T-80s. So, the effectiveness of the Armata is directly related to reorganizing and re-equipping motorized infantry, artillery, military engineering, and even air support units. Besides, all operation plans to date, the education system, mobilization documents, and logistics structure have to undergo a revision. So, the Russian army, struggling to adapt to new doctrines, as seen in Ukraine, cannot use the Armata efficiently. So, why has Russia sent the Armata to fight in Ukraine? First, many Western experts do not believe this claim. According to them, it is just propaganda. Indeed, even if Russia operates the Armata in Ukraine, it is still a propaganda effort. Due to shortcomings caused by war and economic problems, neither the tank nor its crew could possibly reach combat readiness level. But while Western countries are supporting the Ukraine army with Leopard 2s and Challenger 2s, Moscow had to do something. According to our analysis, Moscow hopes that Western countries will take a step back because they will not risk that the Armata may destroy and humiliate their best tanks. Or maybe the Russians trust their new tank against the Leopard 2 and Challenger 2. Let's hypothetically accept that the Armata is much superior to its Western counterparts. We still think that Russian army, which is struggling to adapt to new doctrines, will not be capable of using its new steel beast against them effectively. The design of the Armata is innovative, however, we cannot state that all innovations are better. For example, when a tank is hit by an armor-piercing or even a high explosive round, although the armor remains intact, the crew has to endure a massive noise, harsh vibration, heat, and blast effect. Of course, there are some measures to reduce them, but they cannot eliminate them all. Due to the design of the Armata, all crew members feel these effects together, and the driver, gunner, and commander may faint or be dazed at the same time. In conventional tank design, the driver is separated from the commander and the gunner, who are located in the turret. So, while the driver faints or is dazed, the turret crew could still be operational, or at least they could escape. If the round hits the turret, the driver could be safe. The unmanned turret design offers many advantages, but it may cause some other handicaps. Although the Syrian T-62s had better night vision and firing systems than the modernized Israeli Centurions called Shot, in 1973 at the Golan Heights, the Israeli Defense Forces stopped 1,400 Syrian tanks with only 170 tanks. The real heroes of this victory were the Israeli tank commanders who observed the battlefield with binoculars while their hatch opened. Naturally, they suffered the most casualties. After the 1973 Yom Kippur War, Western countries accelerated their efforts to invest in electro-optic technologies for tanks to save tank commanders. However, many combat analyses have shown that electro-optics are less efficient than the Mark I eyeball. Also, after each fire, the blast and recoil effects of the main gun decrease the efficiency of electro-optic devices bit by bit. Even the vibration of the track negatively affects the life and calibration of electro-optics. Therefore, the open hatch of the commander is still vital for the combat efficiency of a tank. The highest point is the best spot for observation. Looking over from the hull is simply ineffective. Avigdor Bengal, who commanded the Israeli 7th Armored Brigade at the Golan Heights, also agrees. In a military conference in 2007, he claimed it was the human factor that matters the most at war. Also, Bengal argued that the technological revolution did not bring Israel to a better point. Time will tell whether the Armata will be one of the symbols of the new era. We accept that all of our analyses are inherently doomed to be speculations. It is wiser to wait to see if the Armata will face the Leopard 2 and Challenger 2 in Ukraine, and if it can win the fight when the time comes. Thanks for watching our video. And please don't forget to subscribe to our channel and click the bell button to be notified of our new videos. Also, you can now click the join button to support our channel. And as always, we would greatly appreciate all of your likes, comments, and shares.